Hey, what's up, my betas? It's your boy Nightwolf here, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be doing my top 10 scariest D&D monsters, but before we jump into that, I just want to speak about a couple things. Number one, I just want to clarify that the creatures from my top 8 best D&D monsters will not be included on this list just for the sake of variety for the video, but understand that most, if not all of these monsters would make it onto that list as well. Again, this is just my personal opinion and my own list of monsters that I've used in my own campaign or look forward to using. All of the creatures that I'm going to talk about in this video are terrifying and scary to me in one way, shape, or form. So if there is one that doesn't make the list, hey, it's fine. Don't cry. Don't curse me out. Just comment down below and let me know what you think is the scariest monster out there, and maybe I will include it in a part 2 somewhere down the line. Another thing, I'm not used to making videos like these at all. My first video, the top 8 best D&D monsters, was just a spark of random motivation, if I'm being honest, and I decided to make it. If you have any other ideas, maybe such as like some famous D&D character lore, D&D story time, critical role reviews and theories and breakdowns, any of the such, just let me know, comment down below. Now lastly, before we jump in, I just want to say thank you all for all of the love and support that you all showed my top 8 best D&D monsters list. That has become my most viewed video in quite a while, honestly, and you all seem to enjoy that type of content, so I will continue to pump out those videos if this is what you all would like to see. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into my top 10 scariest monsters in all of D&D. Number 10. Mimic. Shape-shifting predators that are able to take the form of any inanimate object to lure creatures into their doom. In dungeons, these cunning creatures most often take the form of doors, chests, having learned that such form attract a steady stream of prey. I could not make this list in good conscience without including this iconic Dungeons & Dragons monster. The Mimic is a classic monstrosity that has the ability to shapeshift into your common items, making it one of the most scariest things to face in all of D&D. A mimic could be a spoon, a table, a house, a door, a chest, even the headphones you are wearing right now to listen to this, or the phone or TV directly in front of you. That's what makes mimics so terrifying. They can be anywhere or anything, blending in, seeming like nothing more than just your normal items. Anyone that touches Mimic, while it is disguised, however, becomes stuck to it due to its adhesive abilities. Mimics can alter their outward texture to resemble wood, stone, and even other basic materials. A mimic in its altered form is nearly unrecognizable until potential prey walks into its reach, whereupon the mimic springs to life, sprouts pseudopods, and attacks with its giant toothy maw. Shout out to Matthew Mercer. Mimics are so fun to put in your game, especially against characters that have dealt with them before. That pure paranoia that mimics cause alone is what puts this disgusting Monster House Dark Souls chest looking ass creature on this list at number 10. Number 9. Dracolich. Even as long-lived as they are, all dragons must eventually die. This thought, however, does not sit well with many dragons. So, what happens when you take a dragon who is powerful enough already, and then they die, and then you give them a strong hate and thirst to stay alive? You get a Dracolich. These dragons who died from some event allows themselves to be transformed by necromantic energy and ancient rituals into powerful, undead dragons. It is said only the most narcissistic dragons choose this path because completing this ritual is basically severing all ties to their dragonfolk kin and their dragon gods. Dragons are already terrifying in their own regards. Most people might question this choice on my list, but let me explain. Dragons from a out-of-game, out-of-world context are simply cool. Giant creatures with wings that breathe fire, cold, lightning, acid. Sounds like one of the most badass things in all of fantasy, and let's be real, they are. But once you start thinking about these dragons in a real-world context, in a in-game sort of way, that's where their true terrifying nature comes through. Now imagine this giant flying reptile with fire-breathing powers flying over your house, and you know that they have the power to destroy you outright. That's terrifying, isn't it? Now, imagine you throw in some rotten flesh, scarred skin, bones showing, and then you get a nightmare of a creature. A Dracolich retains its shape and size upon transforming, its skin and scales drawing tight to its bones or sleuthing away to leave a skeletal form behind. To create a Dracolich, there is a long and difficult process. Creating a Dracolich requires the cooperation of the dragon and a group of mages or cultists that can perform the ritual. During the ritual, the dragon consumes a toxic brew that slays it instantly. The attendant spellcasters then ensnare its spirit and transfer it to a special gemstone that functions like a lich's phylactery. Potential video about liches coming soon. Maybe a video about a Sararak or even Vecna. Only time will tell. As the dragon's flesh rots away, the spirit inside the gem returns to animate the dragon's bones. Say what you want, but as cool as dragons are, they would be terrifying in the real world. And when you throw some undeadness into the mix, you're looking at a creature that would rattle many, and I mean many, yes, I'm looking at y'all. Specifically you, yeah, you right there. A creature that will rattle many of us to the core. Number 8. Boneless. Not all animated corpses shamble from their graves. Boneless are undead remains, devoid of skeletons. Most rise from the bodies of those who suffered brutal ends, such as deliberate skinning or crushing, their husk flopping and slithering around in a pursuit of vengeance, fueled by deathless malice. Okay, so now we're getting into the absolutely disgusting monsters of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, look at this thing. Who signed off on this? Pure nightmare fuel. A lump of walking, rotting, slithering flesh? This, on its appearance alone, had to make the list. But once you start looking at the stats and what it can do, you realize that the looks is only one fraction of its scariness. The boneless boneless, allows it to pass through openings that are at least 1 inch wide without squeezing. It can fold itself and stretch itself to pass through cracks and holes, and on top of that, the boneless have a feature called Crushing Embrace. The boneless creature wraps its body around a larger, smaller creature. While the boneless is attached, the target is blinded and unable to breathe. The target must then make a strength save at the start of the boneless turns or take damage from a crushing sensation. Okay, this is the type of creature you definitely do not want to wake up next to. Not like there is any creature that you should want to wake up next to. I am looking at y'all, all rel stands. Weirdos. But honestly, the bonus strikes me as one of those creatures that just sticks with you in a face hugger type of way. So based off of that, and based off of the design alone, realistically, this had to make the list. Number 7. Bodak. Devoid of life and soul, it exists only to cause death. Bodaks are the undying remains of someone who revered Orcus, the demon prince of undeath. Potential video on him one day. A worshipper of Orcus can take ritualistic vows while carving the demon lord's symbol on their chest over their heart. Orcus's power flays body, mind, and soul, leaving behind a sentient husk that consumes light energy near it. Most Bodaks come into being in this way, then are unleashed to spread death in Orcus's name. One of the scariest things in our world, and history shows it, are humans. I mean, look at Attack on Titan, and what made that show so terrifying, at least in Season 1, is the human design of those titans and how giant and just downright ugly some humans can be. Humans have been at the forefront of some of the most horrifying things that have ever been done in all of history, and when you add a creepy cult, a demon lord, and a fanatical, crazy following, you get a Bodak. The Bodak has a withering gaze. One creature that it can see within 60 feet must make a Constitution saving throw or take 4d10 necrotic damage, which is not something to take lightly. Bodaks are an extension of Orcus's will outside of the Abyss, serving the Demon Prince's aims and other minions. Orcus can recall anything a Bodak sees or hear. If he so chooses, he can speak through a Bodak to address his enemies and followers directly. These individuals worship this Demon Lord so greatly that they completely gave themselves up to the Demon Lord's will, and that mentality alone is why the Bodak had to make this list. Number 6. Spawn of Kyuss. From a distance or in poor light, a spawn of Kyuss looks like an ordinary zombie. As it comes closer into clearer view, however, the scores of little green worms crawling in and out of it becomes visible. Kyuss was a high priest of Orcus, who plundered corpses from necropolises. Necropolises? Necropolis. Is that how you say that? I have no idea. To create the first spawn of Kyuss. Even centuries after Kyuss' death, his maligned disciples continued performing the horrific rites that he perfected. Zombies have been beaten to the ground in pop culture and media, and honestly, zombies have been kind of super unscary if we're gonna be honest. But I mean, look at this thing. Look at it. D&D really saw the normal zombies and said, yeah, nah, turn that shit up to a 10. These worms jump onto nearby humanoids and burrow into their flesh. A worm that penetrates a humanoid body makes its way to the creature's brain. Once inside the brain, the worm kills its host and animates the corpse, transforming it into a spawn of Kyuss, which breeds more worms. These things can create more of themselves? As if one of these slimy, gross, undead, worm-infested spawns weren't bad enough, they can create an army of themselves within a city. Imagine a kingdom filled with 4 HP commoners. What's terrifying to me is their ability to multiply, turning your loved ones, neighbors, friends, co-workers, mother's friends, deadbeat dad, even the family members that claim to like you but at the end of the day never invite you anywhere because deep down inside... Sorry, got a bit off track there. Anyways, throw a few of these in your game and watch them multiply. You end up in the crazy invasion of the body snatcher type wait, that's the wrong movie. You end up in a crazy body snatch... No, that's not it either. Walking Dead. You end up in a worm-infested Walking Dead situation. They're scary to me, shut up. Number 5. Gibbering Mouther. Of all the terror created by foul sorcery, Gibbering Mouthers are amongst the most wicked and depraved. An all-consuming aberration, Gibbering Mouthers were bound to make this list. Look at the art design of this foul creature. This creature is the composite eyes, mouth, and liquefied matter of its former victims. Driven to insanity by the destruction of their bodies and absorption into the Mouther, those victims gibber incoherent madness, forced to consume everything in reach. There's something chilling and nerve-wracking about something that just devours. No real motive, no real thought process, nothing to break down or study. It simply exists to consume. The Gibbering Mouther's body is an amorphous mass of mouth and eyes that propels itself by oozing forward, fastening several mouths to the ground and pulling its bulk behind. Though it moves slowly, it swims through water, mud, and quicksand with ease. I've never talked about this in depth before, but there's nothing more terrifying to me than something that can swim faster than me. I'm terrified of the idea that I might be at a beach and whatever Cthulhian abomination could swim up towards me in the blink of an eye and snatch me and drag me into the deep depths of the endless oceans. When a Gibbering Mouther senses prey, its mouth begins to murmur and chatter, each with a different voice, deep, shrill, crying out in agony or ecstasy. This cacophonous gibbering overcomes the senses of any creature that hears it, causing most to flee in terror. Others are overcome with madness or stand paralyzed, fixated on the horrific creature as it oozes forward to consume them. This monster liquefies stone, with which it comes into contact with, hindering creatures that overcome its gibbering and attempt to flee. A Gibbering Mouther leaves nothing of its prey behind. However, even as the last of the victim's body is consumed, its eyes and mouth boil to the surface, ready to join the chorus of tormented gibbering that consumes the monster's next meal. Yeah, hell nah. Number 4. The Bagman. An urban legend about an adventurer who sought to escape doom by abandoning his party and hiding inside a bag of holding. The Bagman, with the name like the Bagman, is a terrifying creature. What actually makes this creature scary to me is the urban legend aspect of its lore. This large, slender man-esque creature is said to have simply been a man who crawled into a bag of holding, but when he tried to escape, he became lost amongst a constantly increasing number of extra-dimensional storage spaces, eventually transforming into this terrible monster. This story reminds me a lot of the Backrooms and its lore of getting lost in infinite rooms and storage units, and I can only imagine trying to escape and return to your loved ones, but going insane instead and being transformed into this terrible monstrosity. It is said that the Bagman can traverse through pocket dimensions. The Bagman is said to be constantly looking for its way home, sprouting out of random bags of holding throughout the world. If the creature doesn't find its home, it drags someone into the bag of holding with him. This is the ultimate trust issues creature alongside, mimics. Imagine your party sleeping in the woods and all of a sudden one of them starts getting dragged into their bag of holding. I love the mystery of this creature. Is it just an urban legend? Or is the Bagman indeed a real thing? Only time will tell, and the Dungeon Master as well. Number 3. Atropal. Oh, hell nah. An Atropal is a ghastly, unfinished creation of an evil god cast adrift and abandoned long ago. So basically an unborn god fetus. Man, do I love D&D. Since an Atropal was never truly alive to begin with, it can't be raised from the dead or resurrected by any means. I love seeing how disgusted my players were when I described the Atropal to them and showed them the art for it. Not even a divine intervention can breathe true life into this hateful, miserable horror. An Atropal is wet, malformed, and unfinished. Its moist, wrinkly, and bloated body is toppled by a hairless, oversized head with glassy eyes. Its constant drools, stinking of ichor as it mouths obscenities. Its arms are too slender and weak to really move, with its tiny hands dangling at the end of its limbs. An Atropal never walks, but always floats with its atrophied, dead legs dangling underneath the floating mass of nasty. This floating fetus can be a great threat with its life drain ability, causing a ton of damage to an enemy and then healing itself in the process. The Atropal can then summon a Wraith just to add an extra enemy to the battlefield, because why not? Lastly, the Atropal has this legendary action of a whale that causes all creatures within 120 feet to make a Constitution saving throw or gain a level of exhaustion, which, let me tell you, is amazing and absolutely annoying for a monster to have. Nothing much to say on this creature, it's just a vomit-inducing creature, and I hope I just inspired a few dungeon masters to throw this thing at your party. I am by no means responsible for the death of all your characters if your DM decides to use this against you. Okay? Good luck and have fun. Number 2. Aboleth. It is said before the arrival of the gods, Aboleth lurked in primordial oceans and underground lakes. I've mentioned this recently in this video, but I have thalassophobia, so this thing is like one of my own personal nightmares. Aboleth, like many other aberrations, reached out with their powerful minds and seized control of the ever-growing life forms of the mortal realm, making those under their control their slaves to do their bidding. It says, and I quote, "Their dominance made them like gods. Then the true gods appeared, smashing the Aboleth's empire and freeing their slaves. Aboleth have never forgotten." That sounds like a threat to me, and I'm so excited to use this against other people and hopefully never have it used against me, because I would literally cry. Aboleth have flawless memories. They pass on their knowledge and experience from generation to generation. With this passing of information, it makes the injury of their defeat by the gods perfectly preserved within all of their minds. Aboleth can also do a psychic drain, which allows the creature under the control of the Aboleth to take 3d6 psychic damage, which then goes towards the Aboleth, healing it the same amount. Aboleth dwells in watery environments, including ocean abysses, deep lakes, and the elemental plane of water. In these domains and the lands that adjoin them, Aboleths are like gods, demanding worship and obedience from their subjects. When they consume other creatures, Aboleths add that knowledge and experience of their prey to their eternal memories, which will then be passed down to the next generation as mentioned before. Aboleths use their telepathic powers to read the minds of creatures and know their desires. And Aboleth uses this knowledge to gain a creature's loyalty, promising to fulfill such wants in exchange for obedience. Within its lair, the Aboleth can further use its powers to override senses, granting creatures such as its followers the illusion of those same promised rewards. So underwater, pissed off, godlike creatures with the power to enslave and drain humans. I don't think I have to explain why this is on my list. All of my water-fearing kin understands. Number 1. Star Spawn Emissary. Have you ever asked yourself the question, what does air look like? What's behind a black hole? What lies beyond the stars? Why do we even exist? Well, if you have and continue to do so, eventually the questions themselves will start to ask about you. Starspawn Emissary are creatures that I would need a whole 30 to 40 minute video to explain for you to completely understand the scope and terror of its existence. Have you ever watched The Thing? Yeah, it's basically that. Starspawns come in all shapes and forms, but the Emissary is on this list because I believe it to be the most dangerous form that they can arrive in. These emissaries have two forms, a lesser form and a greater form, which will both be talked about in this one section. Isn't that kind of cheating? Because technically they're two different... Shut up! It's my video, okay? What's terrifying to me about these creatures is that their lesser form, they can appear to be anything. Even a small little cute child or bunny innocently leading you death and destruction. These creatures scratch the same itch for me that Mind Flayers, Aboleths, Gibbering Mouthers, and Beholders do. These creatures are very intelligent and just downright alien in their design and stat block. there are a few things that get under my skin like underwater and cosmic monsters do. Again, I have thalassophobia, and space kinda hits that same bracket for me. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of being so little and powerless to these eldritch beings that really sticks with me and gives me the creeps. There is no reason or understanding to be had with creatures like this, which is what also makes them so terrifying. Another thing is that these creatures can hide in plain sight. They could be your pet owl bear, the local bird that visits the water fountain every day, your little brother or sister. There is an infiltration in plain sight that comes with these things, and you'll most likely never know until they want you to. This thing is just downright terrifying. It has two forms, and most of what I've described comes from the lesser form. Once you destroy the lesser form, it then turns into the greater form. The lesser form is suited more for infiltration, while the greater form is just physically overwhelming. When this form is destroyed, the emissary's body collapses in a gory slurry, and then instantly returns in its greater form. Only if the emissary is defeated in its greater form does the star spawn die. But if you don't kill the greater form, after a long rest, it regains its lesser form. Once the star spawn reaches the greater form, it just shatters your perception of reality. It warps it. It is all teeth and squishy limbs, eyes. There is no science or familiarity with this thing. The Starspawn Emissary can shoot bile, and if you fail your dexterity saving throw, it summons a Gibbering Mouther next to everyone who failed. A Gibbering Mouther! We talked about this creature earlier in the video, and oh my god, this thing is just my nightmare. This thing can just make more horror by vomiting Gibbering Mouthers onto the battlefield. The damage that this thing can also dish out is no joke, and is honestly a creature that you could build an entire campaign around, like a few monsters on this list. The fear of the unknown is the best way to mess with my mind, and that is exactly what this is. That is why Starspawn Emissary is my number one for my top 10 most scariest monsters in all of D&D. And that does it for my top 10 scariest monsters in D&D. Alright, my betas, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. It's me, your boy Nightwolf. I really hope that you all enjoyed this video, and once again, thank you for the support on my last video, and comment down below. Let me know if there's any other types of videos like these, or just any video in general that you all would like to see from me. But it's been your boy Nightwolf. I will catch you guys in the next one. Say it with me, say it with me. Peace.